Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be about these forms and how they're installed. So if you guys are following along on this project, adding on a 4,000 square foot ish addition to the side of my house here, and I do welcome you to follow along on this whole build series, because I don't think there's anything on YouTube that's going to document from dirt to finished, including decor, finishes, trims, CAD work, 3D modeling, the whole deal. I'm going to show you how a DIYer like myself use resources, a good contractor, and some knowledge in the building industry to basically construct a brand new home. So the existing home, if you haven't saw my previous videos, 1,500 square foot. It's going on to a 2-story, 4,000 square foot addition. So this is January of 2022 that I'm filming this, and they just finished up forming this now. So I'm going to be showing some drone clips here too, just to kind of give you an idea of the scope, what we're dealing with. Rough idea of dimensions. If you guys are planning on doing something like this on your own, this main back wall comes out approximately 40 feet to this form, and then this comes out another 12. I'll actually put the specifics of the plan up here on the screen at some point so you can get some ideas of the dimensions. But just to give you the rundown on kind of why, a couple of things so you guys can learn this stuff if you don't know already. The top of the slab is going to sit at the height of this form board right here. Okay, and this is a 4-inch foundation, which means the inside of this area that you see here, fill dirt, will be brought in. It's called backfilling, and I'll put a clip right now of a house that's right down the road from me that's being backfilled as I tape this video. It gets backfilled with dirt. They leave a 4-inch space, so the rest of the space between the dirt and the top of the form becomes concrete. They dig their footings and everything else, and that'll be another video. But the very first stage, once all the excavation is clear, is this stage here. Now this is a monolithic slab on grade, which means that there's no stem wall required to retain any ground layer. So they're basically pouring a slab straight on this flat ground, which is a very nice, hard, compacted ground. So I told you get a dose of 3D on this video, or on this channel, and here we go. Here's the first part. So I've created this 3D model to illustrate what you're looking at and how the construct of this monolithic slab is going to be created. So if we look at this 3D model, what you're looking at in this video are the form boards, and I've just drawn a real basic form board that's going around the perimeter of this particular 3D foundation. So once the concrete is poured, you'll see right up here, before I turn the form boards off, you see how the slab is level with the top of the concrete at the top of the form board? That's what I meant when I said the concrete would be flush to the top. So the concrete's poured and finished off correctly. It's then allowed to cure. And if we turn the form boards off, you can kind of see what's happening. So when I mentioned backfill in that clip I showed you of the loader backfilling the stem wall, similar aspect is they would fill, this would be your normal grade, where you would see the grass, and then they add dirt up inside of the form boards to get it to where it's a 4-inch differential, and then the rest of it's poured solid with concrete. And this little edge that you see going all the way down is called the footer, or the footing, and that's basically a thickened area all the way around the perimeter where the exterior walls will sit that will eventually bear weight of the roof system. And those are thickened because if they were just put onto a small 4-inch slab, the slab edges would crack, causing failure to the structure. So what you're looking at here is a monolithic slab, meaning that there's no stem wall to support the top of the slab edge, and this is the footing. Now these little cylinders that I have drawn in here are the rebar. So rebar is added for reinforcement and also to create a continuous tie beam. So what that means is once you start to put together this structure, you have 2 rebar, depending on the engineering set, you would have 2 rebar, 3 rebar sitting on chairs inside of the foundation prior to it being poured that elevate the rebar up off the ground. And once the foundation is poured around it, these pieces of steel are locked into this foundation. You would then create what we call in the concrete world an upright. That's an L-shaped, if I go into my transparency view here, it's an L-shaped hook that would essentially hook underneath these two rebar, and they're tied together so they don't move. And now you've created an anchor that can now go up the concrete block wall. You've created an anchor that's tied into the very bottom of the foundation for strength. And what they would do, if we go back into 3D view, after they're done putting up the block walls, they'll pour these, what are called cells, full of concrete, creating a very strong tie into the foundation. Then the roof system would go on top of the concrete block wall, again with a strap that would go into the filled cell, creating continuous grade beam into the foundation, creating a very, very strong structure. In this case, this structure is being able to be able to hold up to a wind load of 130 mile an hour gust, which would be a very strong hurricane to come into Florida. So without doing these simple methodologies of construction, you would have a very weak structure. So I just wanted to illustrate that in 3D. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already. I told you you'll learn something on this channel. And you'll also note with this drawing is that the grade is here and the foundation is elevated up a certain amount, and that will be determined upon your base flood elevation requirement at the county. So they may need to go up much higher, say up here, to withstand any flood potential. And at that point, if you're going to go up any higher than probably what you would see mine, 16, 18 inches, they're going to do a stem wall, which is basically creating a false wall in the ground tied into a footing and then doing the slab on top of it after it's filled, which is just like the drone clip I just showed you. So I know this is a long-winded explanation, but some of you guys really do want to learn this stuff, and I'm trying to explain visually in 3D and also show you on the ground to see what you're doing, because if you're better educated on this kind of stuff, you'll be a lot more informed. So let's get back to the video. You can see here that this area is separated from the main living area of the house is over in this area. This is a porch area. So this is a 23-foot long run this way, 12-foot long here, and this will be a cathedral ceiling up on the second floor on the balcony, which will be really cool. And then this is coming in off the dining room. So this area is porch, and you'll notice if I shoot down this direction here, you'll notice that the forms on this side are higher than the forms on this side, and that's because there's a 4-inch step down to get onto the balcony or onto the patio surface to allow for drainage. If any rainwater comes in here, you don't want your slab height the same height as your porch. So as I walk through here, this is another little connected, this is all connected here. This is a little connected porch area off the main living room, which will occupy all of this space here. So there'll be a big sliding glass door going in right here. So I just wanted to really just kind of show the form boards, how they're constructed, how they're put in the ground. My particular crew basically uses a sawn off 2x4 at an angle. They hit this with a really, really big mallet, and they bang all of these stakes that you see into the ground. It's really sturdy. And then they tack up a 2x4 on the inset side of the slab, which is the highest point, 2x10s out here on the patio side to hold in the concrete as they pour it. So these angle pieces that you see here are called form stiffeners, and these are basically hammered in at a 45 to the primary form board, because as you pour this much concrete in here, what wants to happen is the forces of the concrete want to push laterally against this board. And if you don't have supports like this in combination with these stakes, which you can have as a washout, and I've been on job sites where that's happened, where a form will blow open and it's chaos. So you send your foreman in wet concrete and it's a big, big problem. So to mitigate any of that risk, or the majority of that risk, they use the 45 stiffener. Coming around here to the side, this is a good example right here of that step down that you can see on the form board. You can see how it steps down 4 inches. So the top of the slab of the patio will be here. Top of the slab of the finished floor living area is over here. So there's the drop down. Coming into this area over here, this is a little bump out in the living room to give it some architectural interest, because the front of the house also kind of mimics that same effect. And also we bumped this front here to create another false roof on the front of the house for the elevation. Again, here's a good view of the form construction. They're also nailed together. Makes a really solid joint. You know, you might think it's overkill to build something this strong just for a form board, because all it's really going to do is be taken out once the concrete's cured, but it's little details like this that make the difference when you're pouring a slab. You can see just how many reinforcements they have across there. So this is the foundation video series here. This is forming up a monolithic slab ready for a concrete pour. So the next video in the series will be me showing how they backfill this with a skid loader. They'll bring in all the fill dirt, they'll backfill it good. Once that's done, then they can come in, plumber can come in and put his rough plumbing. So I'll show that video. Then after that stage, they're gonna go ahead and dig the footings, prep the slab for termites, cover it in plastic visqueen, and then the big day will be the slab day. So a couple of steps before we get to slab, but it's moving along. So I truly appreciate you guys watching this video. I will document this thing from start to finish, so please subscribe. And if you know anybody about to build a house, tell them to subscribe to this channel. They will learn something. So thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.